Research Institute. Gerald, another point to bring up that maybe shows signs of this economy. Goldman Sachs, your favorite company, announced today it will lay off 230 employees. Just wondering, are you feeling sorry for them?
I mean, the Goldman Sachs gang? Oh, yeah, big crocodile tears. And it's not only them, it's many in the financial sector. The economy continues to decline. There's no recovery in sight. And it's hitting everyone. And the Goldman Sachs are taking the hit as more of that bailout money dries up and reality bites.
I want to talk about Greece and London, the protests taking place there. What do you think about this? It seems that there's sort of a domino effect, that this is just happening across the country, and we're hearing the same thing, that these people are taking to the streets because they're angry that the people who caused the economic problems are not the ones who are being punished for it.
It's what we said from the beginning. You go back to the Trends Journal over 8 months ago. It was off with their heads 2.0. We said that the global Ponzi scheme was under collapse. And that's what we're seeing happening, whether it's in Tunisia, whether it's in Egypt, whether it's in the UK, whether it's in Greece. Watch out for Spain. Here comes Italy. Ireland's coming up the backstretch. It's only going to get much worse. There's no way out, and the people are angry. You know my saying, Christina, when people lose everything and have nothing left to lose, they lose it. And that's what it is. The people know the score. You could sum up what's killed capitalism in 4 simple words: too big to fail. And that's what's going on. The banks are failing, and they want the people to bail them out. Because, hey, after all, they don't like to take a hit, these big guys, so they call it austerity measures and privatization. Gerald, and I want to make this clear. The IMF is nothing more than the International Mafia Federation. They're the loan sharks of last resort, and the people know it. They call it privatization. Adults call it stealing valuable public assets and selling it to your friends really cheaply.
But Gerald, what do you think about this? I mean, as you just said, people are angry. They're starting to realize it. It's really hitting home. They're taking to the streets. They've been taking to the streets in Greece for nearly a year now, and yet, the Greek parliament was able to pass this new round of austerity measures, these hits that, are on a lot of average people who live there. To what extent do these protests, does this anger actually fuel the end result?
It's going to at some point. The politicians are nothing. These are not democracies. They call them representative democracies. The politicians only represent the people that give them the most amount of money. So the people know that. So it's going to continue to be a tug of war. And the Greek people know that if you don't stand up, they're going to mow you down. When you get really hungry, you're going to see the riots continue to escalate. Because what are these so-called austerity measures? What do they really bring? Oh, they bring a lot more poverty. Oh, they bring a worse GDP. Oh, they bring more unemployment. So the politicians are doing nothing more than the bidding for those that pay them off.
Gerald, back here in the U.S. and even right here in Washington, we've been watching just down the street from here this battle over the debt ceiling. And now we learned the S&P has announced that if the U.S. can't pay its debt, the deadline, of course, on August 2nd, but if they can't pay its debt, the S&P would lower the top-level AAA ranking to a D. Now, of course, these meetings that have been taking place over the debt ceiling, they've been closed-door meetings, the nature of which have, of course, changed ever since those Republican lawmakers opted out, refusing to raise taxes on anyone. But I'm wondering, I mean, we don't know much about what they've talked about, but do you think that President Obama has a plan?
No, he has no plan. Listen to his press conference yesterday. Reminded me of a high school kids, reporters asking the principal questions, and he's throwing out the same tired lines he's been throwing out for the last 2.5 years. He has no plan in place, and here's what no one's talking about. He talked about cutting the defense budget by $400 billion. What, over 10 years, $40 billion a year? That's chump change in a defense budget that's eating up, when everything's included, over $1.2 trillion. So no, they're not taking the big bites where they should. And when he talks about, taxing the rich, he's calling people family, two-income family earning $250,000 a year the rich. That's not rich.
Yeah, but it's also oil subsidy, subsidies for these oil companies and for these private jets. And President Obama did list, 8 or 10 things in addition to that.
Christine, if you add up what he listed, it's not a lot. And what he didn't list are the people like the Buffetts and the Gates and the Schwartzmans and these multi-billionaires paying tax rates like they used to do under the Eisenhower years. So he left the big guys alone, and it's very clear why he did. Because these are the cats that fuel the campaigns for both the Democrats and the Republicans. And all the cuts that they're talking about are going to fall back again, mostly on us little people.
Well, Warren Buffett does make more than $250,000.
That's what I'm saying, but he's not talking about taxing them at the Eisenhower rate. They're left alone, and he's bringing in the middle class as those, or the upper middle class, as those who should be taxed more. So this is just rhetoric, what he's really talking about. And again, the 600-pound gorilla in the room is the Pentagon. And hey, you can't say anything about that because, as I said before, the business of the United States is war, not business.
All right, Gerald Celente, director of the Trends Research Institute, weighing in from New York.